recently recapping the Ring 4 Saudi Riyadh season card. Max Kellerman in the studio along with LaShawn McCoy and Malik Scott gave his recap of the events for the evening and even spoke with critique of the fighters that participated. But what stood out amazingly was his comments that had to do with Devin the Dream Haney. You know, Devin had challenged Brian Norman Jr. for his WBO welterweight title, and he came away victorious with a unanimous decision win. But one of the judges' scorecards was extremely off because they just had Devin winning by a point, which was interesting because had Devin not knocked Haney, had Devin knocked Brian Norman Jr. down in the second round, maybe this judge would have seen the fight as a draw, which it certainly wasn't. But getting back to Kellerman and his remarks, they were very disrespectful for a fighter like Devin in this modern era where he has done a great deal to drive the sport forward as far as wanting to put on challenging matches for himself, his legacy and career, and to also provide points of interest for viewers of the sport of boxing. Kellerman's critique is quite heavy, and it's interesting that he chooses certain fighters to be that way about, and others he gives a free pass. So here I am going to allow you to hear what Max had to say for himself, and I will offer commentary on it.
Welcome back to Inside the Ring. In the co-main event, Devin Haney coming off a performance in which he looked scared to get hit against Jose Ramirez. He did. Took on, are you denying he looked scared against Jose Ramirez? He took us, one of the reasons he was the underdog against the undefeated, power-punching, top-rated welterweight by Ring Magazine, Brian Norman Jr.
Yes.
But he...
Now, he says that Devin appeared to be afraid to get hit by Jose Ramirez. You know, that's a fight where Devin was coming back after a year off with the whole debacle that went down in 2024 with Ryan Garcia. And not only did he box well for the fight, tactically and strategically, it was to not allow Ramirez to get into any type of rhythm or to have any type of success. You see, the critics from his bout with Garcia spoke of Devin not being able to see or respond properly to fighters who can throw a left hook, because it seemingly was the best punch that Garcia could land against Devin during their fight. Some critics, and I would include Kellerman along with them, even went as far to say that Devin had PTSD, which has never been equated to a fighter in the ring, but that he didn't want to get hit, so he moved around. Well, fighters move around in boxing. It's called lateral movement. It's called ring generalship and athleticism, perpetual and rhythmic motion. And fighters who are well schooled and tooled know how to counter that by sliding in the proper angle to cut the ring off. Ramirez was not able to do these things, and it became a wash for Devin and his success back in May of this year. So now he moves on toward this fight with Norman Jr., and this is what he had to say about Devin's performance. and what he thinks of Devin.
He sent Norman to the canvas with a beautiful check hook, right-hand combination. But guys, this was a tale of two performances. In the first half of the fight, Haney looked sharp.
Yes,
he looked strong. But rather than continue to dominate, because you could see some guys, if they keep themselves artificially light, when they go up in weight, you see just in their physique how athletic they are. I think of Shane Mosley at lightweight.
Yeah.
And then by the time he got to welterweight, you're like, damn, Shane, it's like that. Haney, as a lightweight, was not a lightweight. He was not a junior welterweight. This, Haney comes in, you go, oh, excuse me, Devin.
Yes.
You're actually the bigger man in the fight. Yes. This is a natural welterweight. But guys, he made a business decision in that fight. He had a big, kind of insurmountable lead. He was fighting a guy who, when he grabbed his left arm in a clinch, was all too happy to let him because Norman would grab back. And he decided to just ice the win by not fighting in the second half of the fight. Guys.
You see, this over-critiquing. Now, mind you, there have been other fighters who have found and devised means to shut down the opponent's strengths and not be overly criticized for their manner of going about it. When Alexander Usyk was in against Anthony Joshua and he was using the angles, no one criticized him for not standing and trading with the larger, more dangerous punching Anthony Joshua. They talked about his footwork and elusiveness and being able to dart in and out of danger and being able to outbox Joshua. In both fights, there was no critique of Usyk not being able to push Joshua back, to go on the inside and work. You see, that type of criticism is saved for specific fighters, the black fighters. And guys like Max Kellerman are very irresponsible when they are allowed to speak like this and no one challenges the whole premise of what he has to say, because he wants to see someone in a dog match where their life is on the line, especially if it's against two brothers. You see? But when someone like Vasyl Lomachenko can move around, they talk about the Matrix, They talk about fighters being so frustrated that they shut down and quit against him. But he's never taking anybody's heart. He's never taken anyone to task. But he hasn't put anything in the ring that tells us he's a great go-about-it fighter. He wouldn't even rematch the two men who defeated him. But you have this criticism for Haney. Haney was out front in this fight and was never in jeopardy of losing this fight. And he boxed accordingly. Had Norman made different adjustments, Haney would have been able to do more. Because Haney is versatile, a five-dimensional fighter amongst a slew of people who can barely reach 3 dimensions. And the ultimate dimension that Haney has reached is the competitiveness of wanting the challenges, seeking out who are the fierce and best challenges. Kellerman doesn't point these virtues out because then you'll be able to align it and assign it to other fighters who do not do the same, of which I speak of Devin. Listen further.
I thought our very own Mike Coppinger nailed it when he said some guys fight at the wrong weight. I think that was right. But I also think Conor Benn, who's been mentioned as an opponent for Haney after the fight, also nailed it in terms of his impression of Devin Haney in the second half of the fight. Listen to what Conor has to say.
What he said? First of all, were you surprised when he got the knockdown in the second round, and has he changed your perception of him with that performance?
I mean, listen, he caught with a good shot early on. Credit to Brian for getting up. I mean, it wasn't really a great performance in my opinion. He looked scared. He looked scared of his own shadow in there. So
he engaged differently to the way he did in the house.
I don't think he didn't really want to engage. You know,
he didn't want to engage. He didn't look like someone that is winning. He looks scared. Really? You see, this is coming from a drug cheat, ironically, like Ryan, huh? But he's speaking of Devin and Devin's performance, where Devin has proven his wares. The last time I checked, Conor Benn has never even fought for a world title. And he had the audacity to sit ringside and accuse Devin of being boring when Devin has shown layers of skills that Conor Benn couldn't dream of possessing. Let's not forget the 36-year-old Chris Eubank Jr. defeated Conor Benn just a few months earlier, even though he was weight drained, even though they put all types of restrictions and everything within their negotiated contract. Conor Benn, a drug cheat, has been fighting above 147 for 4 years. And you actually go to him for a comment on what he thinks about Devin's performance? We never heard Conor Benn calling out Brian Norman Jr. Interesting. But he'd rather take on a veteran 168-pound fighter that is weight drained to face him at 154? Seriously? He's not even calling out the best at 154, the Virgil Ortizes or the Jaron Boots Ennises, huh? Sebastian Fundora. So what is he talking about? Bakram Murtazaliev, anyone? You see, like I said, that leads people to buy into what people like Max Kellerman say. And the last I checked, sitting ringside, when Devin was able to drop Norman, the astonishment amongst Conor Benn and his promoter sitting in his lap, Ed Hearn, was like they couldn't believe what they were witnessing.
He's happy to nick rounds and nick fights, but for me, there weren't no entertainment in there, and it's entertainment business. Ultimately, I give people fight of the year contenders. He puts people to sleep. I'm not talking about in the ring.
All right, guys, I agree with Conor, and let me say, I'm not a hater. Who's my favorite fighter? You know who's my favorite fighter of all time?
You are a hater, Max Kellerman. There's not a stronger hater in the sport of boxing. One thing I could say, I questioned initially, why did Ring Magazine bring you back after you were away from the sport and we didn't need you back? But the fact that you can speak like you're speaking and create elements of controversial perception, that's great, because people like myself will come out and dispel what you are talking about. Because you sound like a fool speaking like you do. Now you want to speak about who your favorite fighter is. Your favorite fighter doesn't matter. Your favorite fighter isn't who fought. But Devin Haney won his third division weight class title against his third division lineal champion or title holder representing. He actually wanted the rematch with Garcia, who went away from him. He wanted Teofimo, who he has long had a rivalry with. These guys avoided him. Ryan, faked a hand injury, and Teo, who said he had never really touched $1 million, decided that 11 million weren't even enough for him to threaten his record by facing Devin Haney. It sounds like cowardice to me, Max Kellerman. So when he goes in there and he takes on the youthful titleist in Norman Jr., who had a highlight reel knockout earlier in the year in Japan, that doesn't come across to a fighter who's afraid, as Conor Ben charged. No, it comes across as someone who is seeking out the challenges that the sport has for him. So the sooner that you recognize and give credit to someone who is gaining and accomplishing, the better off the sport will be for your acknowledging this, because this is not child's play. This is the really real world, Max Kellerman. He even went on to speak about not thinking that Devin Haney is a great fighter, but he is valued to go to the Hall of Fame. Kellerman, there are plenty of fighters that are in the Hall of Fame who may not be assessed as being great, but in this time and era of accomplishment, achievement, legacy, Devin stands head and shoulders above great. And he is representing. You don't hear about him when he's not fighting. And when he is fighting, there is a sentiment that people want to see him lose, but he just keeps on winning. And that is probably the thing that foils you more than anything else. He's a winner. This is Stormy B-Man. Shout out to the mighty LDBC and Liberated Perspective, a third eye view of the world. For more content such as this, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Let me know what your thoughts are about this video and Max Kellerman and how he sees things, and what should be next for Devin the Dream Haney as he goes forward with his career. Leave comments and let's discuss further. Peace to everyone out there, and everyone please remain safe.